Welcome to Fun and Games Side Quests. Every episode is a different host sharing a video game they love and why they love it.
Hello, side questers. I am Katie Lesperance. I am a podcaster. I am one of the founders of Cutscenes, a video game movie podcast, along with two friends of mine, Jacob McCourt and Travis Colnut, both of whom you may have heard of because they've done previous episodes of side quests. They were really good. You should check them out. But Cutscenes is a seasonal podcast with each episode centering on a different video game related movie or TV show. I am also one of the co-hosts of Left Behind Game Club, which is a book club format video game podcast. Both of those are fun, informative, and mostly positive podcasts that are just a good hang. And if you're looking for some positivity and pure love of all things video games, please check those out. They are available on all major podcasting platforms, and you can also find them on Twitter at cutscenes_pod and at Left Behind Club. But today, I am here on SideQuests to talk about one of my all-time favorite games, Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. Sekiro is a 2019 action-adventure game. It's developed by FromSoft. Now, Sekiro kind of snuck up on me a little bit. I did not think I would like it. I thought it would be too hard. I recall saying on a podcast that I was excited for Ghost of Tsushima because it looked like an easier Sekiro, because I would never actually play Sekiro. I had never played any FromSoft games. And not that long afterwards, I attempted Bloodborne, my first FromSoft. It just quickly got those From hooks into me, and I was just in forever. I then moved on to completing Dark Souls 3. And then Sekiro became the next challenge. Now, it is a departure for FromSoft from their other games in a lot of different ways. I am going to start with the story. First of all, that is a departure just because it is different from the previous settings, which are mostly Victorian and Gothic. This one takes place in a sort of post-medieval Japan. You are trained as a shinobi. You're trying to defend your land against invaders. There's a lot going on there. There's major themes of loyalty and family and duty to your land and home. There's a lot of interesting characters you meet along the way. They each have their own motivations for which side of this fight that they're on. They have their own personal goals. It does a lot of kind of FromSoftian things with its hidden, convoluted quest lines that are optional. Though that is probably the FromSoft element that I am personally most conflicted about, but they're still very well done in this game also. You also, in a very interesting way, explore different events that happen to other characters. It really fleshes out the story and the history, and it's not quite as obscure as other FromSoft games, which is part of the reason why it makes it one of my favorites. As much fun it is to try and dig through all of the little tiny hints to figure out what happened in a game, I do like this one that at top level, it has a story that is easy to grasp, but it can go a lot deeper. There's still those layers to get through, but you do have a core story that is very clear. The story is great, but the gameplay is what makes this one of my favorite games. It's a combination of all of these different elements and how perfectly everything is balanced together that combines that make it just feel so good. And the gameplay is a departure for FromSoft too. It's faster in every way. You're more agile. It adds jumping, which, blew everyone's mind at the time for a FromSoft game. You have a grappling hook. You can jump and you can zip around the rooftops in the city. It makes the level design more vertical. It makes it more accessible. It gives you more options for combat or for stealth as far as your movement and how you choose to approach different things. And all of these things help keep the pace of this game a bit faster than previous games. So parrying, which they call deflecting in Sekiro, is an integral, unavoidable part of this game. You have to parry in order to be successful. And now, if that scares you, it scared me too. I've always struggled to master Soulsborne parries, and the timing of it, I just find it extremely difficult. So a game where parrying is basically required felt like a bad idea for me personally. But as you play it, you realize that Sekiro's deflections just feel easier to initially get the hang of because it's faster. It's a steep learning curve to master it, but the onboarding feels a lot easier than other games, than Dark Souls. It just feels really good. Whereas Soulsborne parries are sort of slow, and a successful parry kind of like halts the moment. It gives you a breath and like a moment to feel your success and like deliver this like critical hit. Sekiro has a more of like a rapid parry system where you can deflect like 4 attacks in rapid succession and you're just hanging on. And it's another thing that keeps that pace up in combat. Another thing that seemed like it would make me not like this game. You can't really grind to level up stats. There is progression. There's like different attachments that you can get for your prosthetic arm, which is not a spoiler. It's on the cover of the game. He's got a prosthetic arm. You can get bigger health bars and increase your posture bar by getting certain items. You can learn skills that you can use in combat, but you can't over level. Like you can't just level up your strength to where you're doing huge damage like other games, which I would think would be a detractor for me. I love getting OP. I love it. So initially I thought, oh no, I can't really level up. But eventually I felt myself just leveling up in skill. And in certain areas of that game, I am OP. Just on my own. I am just tearing through everybody, and it's the best feeling. Which brings me to just the combat. It is, for me, I think my favorite combat of any game that I've played ever. And it is the feel that I always wanted. Like as a kid, I thought it would be so cool if a game could really capture that feeling of like a sword-based combat that's like tense and it's back and forth. And I didn't know how that would happen. I knew the idea of what I wanted, but I didn't know how to make it happen, which I'm not a game dev, thank the Lord. FromSoft really figured out the mechanics, the different mechanics that they had to put together to make that feeling happen, exactly what I wanted. And that is the posture system and death blows. So the health bar is not the only determining factor in success or failure. Your health bar kind of works in tandem with your posture. Your posture bar starts empty. If it fills up, your posture is broken, leaving you open to an enemy attack. Or if you break the enemy's posture, it leaves them open to a death blow, which is basically just a kill shot. So you have a posture bar, your enemies do too. The rules apply to both of you. So just blocking negatively affects your posture, while deflecting hurts your enemies. However, your posture recovers very quickly as long as you have near full health. The less health you have, the slower your posture recovers. And that's something that really elevates the feeling of the combat, because if you take damage, it's not just that you have less health, because that's the case in most games. You see your health being whittled down and you're getting closer to failure, and you think, oh, I can only take so many hits. But here the actual fight gets harder because you have less room for error. You can block less attacks. Any hits you take or blocks you perform could fill up your posture bar much faster. It could stagger you. It's like in an actual fight where if the enemy hurts you, it makes things harder for you. You're less able. It kind of puts you back on your heels. So you kind of have to take a more defensive approach. Maybe try and run away for a little bit or hit your deflections and dodges perfectly. Find a split-second moment where you're able to heal yourself, get your recovery back, and then kind of claw your way back into this fight. And the enemy having the posture bar makes this ebb and flow. So using dodging and parrying, you have to look for these tiny little openings to do a little bit of damage so that they regain their posture slower, and then you're able to fill the bar and perform the death blow. And that gives you these like long back and forth fights where you kind of feel the momentum shifting. That's just a really cool thing that I hadn't felt in another game. It sounds like it's not the most groundbreaking mechanic ever, but it's also so perfectly balanced to make these fights super challenging, but also just they feel so fun. And it teaches discipline. Like if you get out of the pocket and get greedy and try and get one extra little attack in there, you lose your focus in any way and it will punish you immediately. Like you will learn that lesson over and over and over again until you get better at staying disciplined and staying within your game plan. And that brings me to the boss battles. I mean, as always, FromSoft bosses are just a joy to me. They're so well thought out. These ones are less demonic than, say, your Bloodborne or your Dark Souls games. They're kind of a little bit more based, sort of, in reality, but they're still super creative, and they always serve the story, build the lore. It's full of memorable moments. There's one moment in particular, I won't give any specifics due to spoilers, but it's a gaming memory I'll always remember, of where I felt so tired, but I felt victorious. And then this thing happens, and I probably said out loud to an empty room, like, you've got to be kidding me. Where something happens, that's another new challenge. And the way that I was looking around and the way my camera moved, it played out like a moment in a horror movie. And I will not forget it. The final boss took me more attempts than I think any other FromSoft boss I had ever played. That third stage is sometimes soul crushing. Like, if you know, you know. But I enjoyed it in this sick, masochistic FromSoft way. I remember my spouse going, you're still trying to do that? You're still trying to beat that thing? You didn't beat that thing yet? I'm like, no, it's very hard. But when I finally beat it, it was the best feeling. And then I wanted to keep playing. Like, I was not done with Sekiro. And I just kept going until I platinumed it because I just wanted to. I wanted to keep running around with my little shinobi boy and just like hacking up whatever I came across and finding optional bosses that I hadn't played. And there's just a lot to explore, and it keeps giving to you. And I just kept loving it. So I would have to say that if I myself could pick one game to get a sequel for just for myself and my own enjoyment, I would pick Sekiro. Because I want more still. And I will pick it up and just play it and run around and hack up some soldiers and fight a few bosses now and then because it's fun, which I never imagined that I would think Sekiro would be fun. But that's what it is, because the combat feels so good and because it flows so well. And when you're doing well and when you're in this pocket and you're flowing, it's the best feeling. So if you think that maybe it's not for you, but you're curious, just give it a shot. It's difficult. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. It's tough to start. But once you kind of grasp that combat and you kind of get the back and forth of it, it's honestly, I don't think there's a better gameplay out there. And I think that's the end of my Sekiro TED Talk. Once again, I'm Katie Lesperance. You can find me on Twitter at Lesperak, Lesperak. And now I think I'm going to go be a little shinobi again. Thanks for listening, and happy gaming.
Hey, I'm Jacob McCord.
I'm Katie Lesperance.
And I'm Travis Colnut.
We are hosting a brand new podcast called Cutscenes.
There are tons of video game podcasts and tons of TV film podcasts, but we're going to bring you the intersection of both and talk about video game, movies, and TV.
I know what you're thinking. Aren't most of them not very good? Wrong. Some of them are fine. And we're going to tell you all about them.
Make sure to subscribe on your podcasting platform of choice. Follow us on Twitter at cutscenes_pod. And most importantly, give us a listen.
See you soon.
Cutscenes, a video game movie podcast.
Hey,
Oh, hey, Jeff.
what's going on, guys?
Oh, talking about Superman.
Oh, cool. I could talk about Superman.
I could talk some more about Superman.
We know.
I'll bet a few people would want to get in on this.
I'm down.
You know it.
That sounds like fun. I'll do it.
Cool, let's do it. We can call the show Men of Steel.
And you can find it at certainpov.com.
Or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yay!
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.